Welcome to Strange History Shorts. Today we're going to be talking about food. In 1893, the Supreme Court had to rule whether tomatoes were a fruit or a vegetable. This happened not long after people finally decided that tomatoes weren't poisonous, and that was a belief that lasted hundreds of years, owing largely to their botanical relationship to mandrakes and deadly nightshade. People used to think potatoes caused syphilis and leprosy. This was chiefly because of their resemblance to the impacted body parts of the afflicted. Now, of course, potatoes are America's favorite vegetable, largely thanks to French fries. Tomatoes come in second place, owing largely to their use in frozen pizza and canned tomato sauce. Vanilla isn't very vanilla. While vanilla has unfortunately become a synonym for ordinary, it's really anything but. For starters, it's the only edible fruit to come from orchids. Even though they're the largest family of flowers, vanilla gets its name from Spanish conquistadors who named it after the Spanish word for vagina. It has to be pollinated by hand using a technique developed by an enslaved 12-year-old named Edmund Albius, and it's the world's second most expensive spice behind saffron. The first breakfast cereals were intentionally bland. Ready-to-eat breakfast cereals were created in the 1800s by religious health reformers who believed sugar and spices were sinful and that consuming them incited bodily temptation, leading to such sexual urges as chronic masturbation and adultery, and ultimately resulting in eternal damnation. So for all you Lucky Charm lovers out there, take note. Our affinity for certain foods begins in the womb. Researchers suggest that many of our adult food preferences are influenced by flavors, like vanilla, present in breast milk and amniotic fluid, which absorb flavors and odors from the parent's diet. Meanwhile, other food preferences, such as people's polarized responses to cilantro, go back even earlier to the genetic inheritance of specific taste receptors. People used to believe personality traits and intellect were passed on through breast milk. As a result, early wet nurses were screened for things like breast shape, manners, and vices, such as day sleeping and gambling addiction, to ensure their milk was child-friendly. An entire ear of ancient corn used to be about the size of a cigarette. Over thousands of years, corn was selectively bred from a nearly inedible weed into the modern staple many cultures depend on now. There is a decent chance that the honey in your cupboard comes from lawn weeds or poison ivy, and that's okay, apparently. Cinnamon, it was said, came from a giant bird's nest and had to be transported using rafts without oars on a treacherous journey that took 5 years and was powered by courage alone. We're going to have to cover that topic in another podcast. That sounds interesting. Fidel Castro was obsessed with American dairy. He spent decades funding the genetic manipulation of a dairy super cow named Ubre Blanca, which means white udder. She produced 4 times the milk of American cows and was assigned a security detail in an air-conditioned stable, and her funeral was held with military honors and a life-size marble statue after her death. No one wanted to eat Patagonian toothfish until they were rebranded as Chilean sea bass in 1994. Now they sell for $30 a pound at Whole Foods. Spice traders used to make up stories about the exotic origins of spices so they could sell more for money. Cinnamon, it said, came from giant birds' nests and had to be transported using rafts without oars on treacherous journeys that took 5 years and was powered by courage alone. Black pepper was said to grow in forests guarded by serpents that had to be scared away by setting the trees on fire, which explained why the black pepper pods were the color of ashes. The adage you'll catch more flies with honey isn't really true. Rather, catching flies depends on a host of complex variables including the age, gender, sex drive, mating status, thirst, and stress level of each fly, as well as the concentration of the vinegar, the time of day, and the season. Even then, some researchers suggest you'll catch more flies with beer or human semen, with one scientist calling semen the crack cocaine of the fly world. This has been another episode of Strange History Shorts.